Today we will be driving the Arctic Way, a spectacular stretch of coastline that is often overlooked but should be a must-see on any Icelandic road trip. We start by heading north from the city of Akureyri on the western side of Eyjafjörður and following the coastal highway 76 all the way to the town of Sauðárkrókur. This is a spectacular drive with an infinite number of stops where you can do little else but take in the unique views around every corner and have an incredible day. The start of the drive along the fjord's edge has a backdrop of snow-capped mountains off in the distance, and yes, this was the middle of summer. Our first stop was at the town of Dalvik to see if we could spot some whales. The whale watching we did from the city parked the boat just over there in front of that island that you can see off in the distance. So I assume the whales come through this area to get to that feeding ground over there. So we thought we'd try our luck. But without binoculars, you're probably not going to see that much. Still, it's a nice place and the fog is just starting to lift enough to see the mountains on the other side of the water. It's common to see whales feeding just off the southern tip of that island you could see in that previous video. The whale watching tour that I'm referring to left from the main city and brings you all the way to this spot on the water. But you can shortcut this by taking a similar tour directly from Dalvik. I've linked some of these in the description so you can check these out. Back on the road, and this drive really starts to come alive when you get to the end of the peninsula and approach the town of Ólafsfjörður. From here, you'll have mountainous terrain on one side of the road and spectacular coastline on the other for most of the rest of the drive. There is a series of tunnels that will shortcut some of the coastline that is only accessible on foot. One of my favourite parts of this drive was a tiny section of road between two tunnels called Héðinsfjörður. This is halfway between Ólafsfjörður and Siglufjörður, and all there is a small car park looking out towards the water. This is the starting point for a number of hiking trails that take you along the isolated coastline and into the surrounding mountains. I would love to do some of these treks one day, but even if just passing by and checking out the view from that car park, the view over the fjord is beautiful. And then in the other direction, there are more snow-capped mountains off in the distance at the end of a lush green valley. It really is a special place. Of all the towns we passed through, Siglufjörður looked to have the nicest waterfront. A stop over here is a must, and I will forever be jealous of those who live in these cottages right on the water's edge. But after turning around and looking up towards the avalanche barriers, well, perhaps this wouldn't be the perfect place to live after all. A little further along was the highlight of the day for me, and it is also the hardest destination to pronounce. Untitled is just on the other side of the next tunnel, where you are up close with some very intimidating but intriguing looking mountains. They are a mix of dark volcanic rock and this greenery that provides an incredible contrast of colours. And of course you turn around to see amazing views over the Arctic Ocean and spectacular coastline both to your left and to your right. If you saw nothing else but this very spot, then the whole drive would be worthwhile. From here, you can also see the cliff-top house of Trollaskagi. This is a popular stopover and a very cute Icelandic landmark, but we chose to stick to the main road and continue on. For the next 15 minutes or so, the scenery is simply amazing. The road hugs the coast and swings around to another body of water and a small town at the end of another green valley with mountains everywhere that rise up sharply and have incredible green colours. I know this description is starting to sound repetitive, but I promise you that you will not feel that way when you're experiencing this destination for yourself. Just a little further and you could see the Stromness lighthouse way off in the distance sitting perched on top of a cliff. I have no idea how to get closer to it, so we could only admire it from the road as we passed by. We were now heading down the western side of the peninsula, where you can see Malmey Island and Þórðarhöfði Island just off the coastline. Both are really nice features in the water, and we found a great little picnic area to stop and enjoy the view while having our lunch. While I'm sure that none of the pictures throughout this video really does this area justice, it was this spot where I would really highlight this. The shape of the islands and how they sit in the water is hard to really see in this footage, but it's a spot you will love. Absolutely beautiful. And if I turn on the audio for just the sound of the waves, this looks straight out of a meditation video. Now for a quick word of warning for those of you in a two-wheel drive. The larger island has a long sandbar allowing you to walk all the way out to the island. The road down to the car park is very bumpy and we barely made it down there. When you hit the car park area, your wheels will sink in the loose gravel. I noticed this just at the last minute and was able to turn around doing an Austin Powers style 20-point turn, but it was a close call and we very nearly got stuck. So unless you're in a four-wheel drive, don't bother going down this road and stick to the lookout just before the turn off there. And as we headed towards the town of Sauðárkrókur, we decided to celebrate an unexpectedly amazing day with some Icelandic pastries which did not disappoint.